March 28, 1911, Rock Island Arsenal, Illinois. At dawn, sunlight spilled over the Mississippi River as U.S. Army procurement officers assembled inside a weapons testing facility. Each carried evaluation forms for a new automatic pistol that many critics considered unnecessarily intricate, overly powerful, and destined to become outdated quickly. The firearm presented to them, designed by John Moses Browning, would soon be officially adopted as the Model 1911. None could have anticipated that this pistol would become the standard sidearm in World War II, remain in service across 7 decades of conflicts, and continue to be used by specialized military units more than a century later. Its longevity was not solely due to technical specifications, but also rooted in a design philosophy emphasizing reliability, durability, and practical effectiveness over fleeting trends. The impetus for this weapon's creation originated in the harsh jungles of the southern Philippines. Though the Philippine-American War formally ended in 1902, combat persisted during the Moro Rebellion, which lasted until 1913. American forces faced Moro fighters, indigenous Muslim warriors from Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago, whose religious zeal combined with sophisticated combat tactics rendered conventional U.S. sidearms largely ineffective. Captain John Pershing, who would later lead American troops in World War I, reported engagements in which Moro warriors withstood multiple rounds from standard-issue Colt Model 1892 .38 caliber revolvers. Many fighters, sometimes under the influence of stimulants that dulled pain, continued to attack despite sustaining wounds that should have been fatal. After-action reports frequently described 2 bodies side by side, a Moro warrior riddled with bullets and an American soldier fatally slashed, still gripping his empty revolver. These encounters revealed a critical deficiency in the .38 long Colt cartridge, which lacked sufficient stopping power for close-quarters jungle combat. In response, the Army reissued the older Colt Single-Action Army revolver in .45 caliber, a sidearm that had proven devastatingly effective during frontier campaigns against Native American fighters. Its heavier 230-grain bullet, compared to the 150-grain .38, immediately produced decisive results in Moro engagements, saving American lives. This experience clarified a new requirement. The military needed a modern sidearm that combined the rapid-fire capability of a semi-automatic with the proven effectiveness of a .45 caliber round. In 1904, systematic tests led by Colonel John Thompson and Major Louis Lagarde evaluated various calibers on animal and human cadavers to determine the optimal stopping power for a service pistol. While modern researchers might question the methodology, the military concluded that any new sidearm should fire at least a .45 caliber cartridge. By 1907, the Army Ordnance Department issued formal specifications for a semi-automatic pistol. It had to chamber a .45 cartridge, hold a minimum of 6 rounds, have a trigger pull not exceeding 6 pounds, eject spent shells straight up for ambidextrous use, and demonstrate extreme reliability under rigorous testing conditions. 7 manufacturers submitted entries: Bergmann, Germany; Colt, Connecticut; Deutsche Waffenfabrik, Germany; Noble, Germany; Webley, Britain; and White Merrill, United States. Each design endured thousands of rounds, exposure to mud, dust, and water, and repeated attempts to induce malfunction. By 1910, only 2 pistols remained: the Savage Model 1907 and Browning's Colt-manufactured design. Both used the newly developed .45 automatic Colt pistol cartridge, engineered to replicate the stopping power of the old .45 Colt revolver while functioning in semi-automatic pistols. The final phase of extreme endurance testing began on March 3, 1911, setting the stage for the adoption of what would become one of the most enduring firearms in U.S. military history. Each pistol in the evaluation was fired for a total of 6,000 rounds over 2 successive days. John Moses Browning personally observed the trials, alongside representatives from the manufacturers, while military inspectors meticulously recorded every detail. The Savage pistol initially performed well during the first 1,000 rounds, but as testing continued, it began to encounter malfunctions, failures to feed and eject, culminating in 37 documented issues over the full 6,000-round test. In contrast, Browning's own design operated without a single malfunction throughout the entire sequence. Official reports confirmed that the Colt pistol maintained flawless operation across all 6 1,000-round sessions. Accuracy assessments at 75 feet demonstrated a mean grouping radius of 0.855 inches for the Colt compared to 1.97 inches for the Savage. Observers also noted the significant difference in shooter fatigue. Firing 500 rounds with the Savage equated to the physical strain of firing 2,000 rounds with the Colt. On March 29, 1911, the U.S. Army formally adopted Browning's design as the automatic pistol caliber .45 Model 1911. The initial order comprised 30,262 units to be produced at Colt's Hartford plant and Springfield Armory in Massachusetts. When the United States entered World War I on April 6, 1917, American forces quickly began deploying to France. Among the equipment issued were Model 1911 pistols, which many soldiers had never encountered. The pistol represented a leap in small arms technology compared to the revolvers of previous generations. Its first significant combat trial came in the trenches of Western Europe, where close-range engagements demanded weapons capable of rapid, decisive action. The Model 1911 exceeded operational expectations. On October 8, 1918, near Hill 223 at Châtel-Chéry, France, Corporal Alvin York found himself leading a squad after all officers had become casualties. During an assault against German machine gun positions, York, armed with his Springfield 1903 rifle and Model 1911, demonstrated exceptional marksmanship. When a group of 6 enemy soldiers charged with bayonets, he drew the 1911 and neutralized them in rapid succession. His actions contributed to the surrender of 132 German prisoners and earned him the Medal of Honor, with official accounts noting the pistol's decisive role. Across the Western Front, soldiers consistently reported the 1911's reliability, accuracy, and stopping power, with the .45 caliber round delivering the kinetic effect necessary for combat. Following the war, incremental improvements were implemented, resulting in the Model 1911 A1 designation in 1926. Adjustments included a shortened trigger, redesigned grip and mainspring housing, extended grip safety spur, a broader front sight, and simplified checkering. Pistols produced after serial number 700,000 carried the A1 designation, refining usability without altering core mechanics. Browning passed away in 1926, witnessing the pistol's enduring success from World War I and the introduction of the A1 updates. Through decades of testing, combat, and industrial expansion, the Model 1911 proved its enduring reliability and effectiveness, confirming Browning's engineering principles and setting a standard in military firearms history. During World War II, companies with no prior experience in firearms manufacturing rapidly adapted to produce precision pistols on an industrial scale. The production figures highlight the remarkable capacity of American industry at the time. From 1941 to 1945, 5 firms contributed to the manufacture of the M1911A1 for military service. Remington Rand, originally a typewriter company, emerged as the largest producer, turning out 877,751 pistols, nearly half of all units made during the war, at the lowest cost per weapon. The Ithaca Gun Company, a traditional firearms manufacturer based in Ithaca, New York, produced 335,466 pistols and introduced a stamped trigger assembly that all other producers adopted. Colt, the pistol's original developer, manufactured around 410,000 units. Union Switch and Signal, primarily a railroad equipment company, completed 55,000 pistols before shifting production to M1 carbine components, while Singer delivered a modest batch of 500 educational pistols. Altogether, production totaled 1,878,742 pistols, marking the largest single handgun procurement in U.S. military history up to that point. The ability of non-firearms companies to produce highly reliable military pistols alongside established gunmakers demonstrated extraordinary industrial flexibility. These pistols saw action wherever American forces fought: Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific. Beyond U.S. troops, they were distributed to allies through Lend-Lease programs. British commandos, Free French units, Chinese soldiers in Burma, and Soviet forces all carried the M1911A1. In the Pacific theater, the M1911A1 proved particularly resilient under harsh jungle conditions. Its simple, sturdy steel construction endured salt water, mud, heavy rain, and humidity that ruined more delicate weapons. Marines carrying the pistols through swamps, coral beaches, and surf during island assaults, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Peleliu, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa, found the weapons reliable with minimal maintenance. The .45 caliber round delivered decisive stopping power in close quarters, and its psychological effect on Japanese defenders was significant. Soldiers in dense jungles, echoing the pistol's original use in the Philippine-American conflict decades earlier, trusted the M1911A1 in extreme close combat. The pistol also proved vital in unconventional situations. Downed pilots like Lieutenant Louis Zamperini, who drifted for 47 days at sea after his B-24 was shot down in 1943, carried M1911A1s that remained functional despite prolonged saltwater exposure. Paratroopers relied on them as backup weapons when primary firearms failed, while tank crews trapped outside their vehicles used them to fight their way to safety. Navy sailors defending ships during kamikaze attacks or boarding incidents depended on the pistol's corrosion resistance. In Europe, airborne troops and officers leading infantry assaults consistently found the M1911A1 dependable. Combat engineers clearing obstacles, military police maintaining security, and soldiers in secondary roles all relied on the pistol. Even during the harsh winter of 1944, during the Battle of the Bulge, the weapon functioned reliably when sub-zero temperatures immobilized less robust firearms, provided it was properly maintained with cold weather lubricants. The M1911A1, originally designed in 1911 and finalized for service in 1922, proved over 4 decades later that its design was exceptionally durable, versatile, and effective. Across every theater of war, from the jungles of the Pacific to the forests of Europe, the pistol safeguarded American lives and provided a dependable tool in both conventional and extraordinary combat conditions. During extreme cold, soldiers discovered that keeping their pistols close to the body prevented freezing. The heat from the human body could restore a temporarily frozen firearm in minutes thanks to the straightforward engineering of the weapon. Walter Walsh, an FBI agent turned Marine Corps colonel, illustrated the pistol's potential under expert handling. In the Okinawa campaign of 1944, he eliminated a Japanese sniper from a distance of 90 yards with a single shot from a Model 1911, proving the platform's accuracy in skilled hands. Walsh, who lived to 106, ultimately became the oldest former FBI agent. By August 15, 1945, Japan had surrendered, ending the Second World War and cementing the United States' status as a global military power. Weapons like the Model 1911A1 had performed reliably across every climate and battlefield, their production having outpaced Axis industrial output. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, exposed new environmental challenges. Harsh winters caused lubricants to freeze and jam many firearms, but the Model 1911A1 adapted well. Soldiers discovered that running the pistols dry prevented frost lock, and periodic firing maintained smooth operation through heat generated by friction. Brigadier General S.L.A. Marshall, historian of both the European theater and Korean combat, recorded that the pistol earned higher praise in Korea than in any previous conflict. Close quarters fighting dominated as Chinese forces relied on mass infantry assaults. The 1911's effective range of around 25 yards made it decisive in trench and bunker combat, where maneuverable and powerful weapons were essential. Its simple controls, including a grip and manual safety operable by touch, allowed soldiers to operate the weapon in total darkness, often saving lives during nighttime engagements. Vietnam, 1961 to 1975, presented a different set of extremes. Many pistols in service were rebuilt World War II-era frames using parts from multiple manufacturers, Colt, Remington, Ithaca, Union Switch and Signal, and remained functional decades after production. The conflict highlighted an unexpected role: tunnel warfare. Soldiers known as tunnel rats explored complex underground networks in regions like Cu Chi and the Iron Triangle. Rifles were too long, carbines were cumbersome, and shotguns unwieldy. The Model 1911A1's compact length and stopping power made it the weapon of choice. These tunnels were pitch black, humid, hot, and infested with snakes, rats, and scorpions. The pistol's reliability under such conditions was critical, with modifications limited to ensuring immediate readiness. Magazine safeties were sometimes removed, and hammers kept cocked with thumbs on the safety. Flashlights were rarely attached. Soldiers relied on hearing, touch, and instinct. Veterans consistently reported that a single .45 caliber round could decisively end close-range encounters, with the psychological and physical impact on enemy combatants being substantial. No new complete pistols were purchased during the Vietnam War. The military instead relied on replacement parts through the 1990s. Frames made during 1941 to 1945 continued to endure, demonstrating extraordinary longevity. Over half a century, the Model 1911 survived jungles, deserts, forests, and urban combat, enduring hundreds of thousands of rounds. On January 14, 1985, the U.S. military officially replaced the Model 1911A1 with the Beretta M9, a 9mm pistol offering higher magazine capacity, lighter weight, and double-action operation for compatibility with NATO standards. Yet, elite units resisted the change. Combat experience, rather than sentiment, drove the decision to retain and improve the 1911 platform. By 1985, Marine reconnaissance units were already using customized 1911s, and in 1986, Quantico's Precision Weapons section formalized modifications to maintain the older design, ensuring its continued relevance for specialized missions. The MIUSOC pistol program revealed how far skilled military armorers could push the classic Model 1911 platform. Instead of building pistols from scratch, they began with carefully chosen frames originally produced during World War II. Armorers examined large numbers of surplus frames, searching for those that showed minimal wear, correct measurements, and no structural weaknesses. Many of these steel frames had already existed for 4 or 5 decades, yet they still served as the core of highly refined combat pistols. Once selected, each pistol went through a detailed rebuilding process. Worn factory barrels were replaced with precision match-grade stainless barrels, which were individually fitted to the frame by hand. This meticulous fitting dramatically tightened tolerances and improved accuracy. The tiny original sights were removed and replaced with low-profile combat sights, giving shooters a clearer sight picture in different lighting environments. Reliability improvements also extended to the magazines. Enhanced 7-round magazines with stronger springs and improved followers ensured smoother feeding during operation. Trigger components were also upgraded. Precision triggers set to approximately 4.5 to 5 pounds produced a clean, predictable break that helped shooters maintain accuracy. Ambidextrous thumb safeties were installed so both right and left-handed operators could use the pistol effectively. Rubber grips designed for better traction improved control when firing powerful .45 caliber rounds. Every part added during the rebuild was selected with one goal in mind: dependable performance in combat. The durability of the original steel frame proved remarkable. Pistols were typically overhauled after roughly 10,000 rounds, but the frames themselves often survived far longer. Some accumulated more than 500,000 rounds during decades of service, including training exercises and repeated rebuild cycles. With regular maintenance and periodic replacement of worn parts, the basic frame design could last almost indefinitely. Even after the U.S. military adopted the Beretta M9 pistol, several United States Army Special Forces units continued using customized versions of the Colt M1911 pistol. Dedicated armorers within these units assembled pistols tailored to the preferences of individual operators. The platform's single-action trigger allowed extremely precise tuning, something much harder to achieve with double-action pistols. Highly trained shooters often favored this setup despite its limited magazine capacity. For them, accuracy and control outweighed the advantage of carrying more rounds. A well-placed .45 ACP shot was considered more decisive than a higher number of less precise hits from smaller calibers. This philosophy strongly influenced Delta Force, whose founder, Charlie Beckwith, evaluated several handgun options before selecting heavily modified Model 1911 pistols as the unit's standard sidearm. Unit gunsmiths carefully tuned these pistols, transforming standard-issue weapons into extremely accurate tools. The belief within the unit was straightforward: elite operators should carry equipment built to the highest standards. Evidence of this continued trust appeared in 2003 when the 3rd Special Forces Group requested Model 1911 A1 pistols for deployment to Afghanistan. Although more modern handguns were available, the group preferred the platform they already knew well. Their reasoning was practical. Combat conditions were not the place to learn unfamiliar gear. Customized pistols accompanied them throughout the deployment. The loyalty shown by these elite units was not based on nostalgia. These soldiers had access to modern weapons and extensive training resources, yet many still chose modified 1911s. In expert hands, the design offered meaningful advantages: a crisp single-action trigger that supported high accuracy, a powerful .45 caliber cartridge, and a heavy steel frame that absorbed recoil effectively. The controls were also simple and intuitive, making the pistol reliable even under extreme stress. In 2012, the United States Marine Corps formally recognized these advantages. The service awarded Colt Defense a contract worth about $22.5 million to produce the M45A1 pistol. Unlike earlier programs that rebuilt older frames, this contract called for completely new pistols manufactured to modern standards. The first order included 4,036 pistols, with the potential to expand to roughly 12,000 units. The M45A1 represented a modern interpretation of the century-old design. These pistols featured 5-inch National Match stainless steel barrels built to tight match-grade tolerances. A dual recoil spring system reduced felt recoil and extended the weapon's service life. Tritium night sights allowed accurate aiming in darkness as well as bright daylight. Ambidextrous safeties remained standard, ensuring usability for all operators. Modern tactical features were also added. A Milstad MST 1913 Picatinny rail under the dust cover allowed mounting flashlights or laser aiming devices. The pistols were coated with a desert tan Cerakote finish, later replaced by a flat dark earth Decabond coating to resist corrosion, particularly in maritime environments. Improved 8-round magazines increased capacity while maintaining reliable feeding. Additional refinements included lightweight hammers with relief cuts that shortened lock time and solid aluminum triggers designed for crisp operation. The pistol weighed about 40 ounces unloaded, which was substantial but appropriate for its role as a durable combat sidearm. The M45A1 was specifically intended for Marine Forces Special Operations Command. These units carry out direct action missions, reconnaissance operations, and counter-terrorism tasks around the world. Their equipment must function flawlessly in extreme circumstances, from parachute insertions and submarine deployments to helicopter fast rope assaults and long missions with minimal maintenance. For these operators, the priority was simple: absolute reliability and precision, even in the harshest conditions. The M45A1 fulfilled all operational criteria set by the Marine reconnaissance community. Between 2012 and 2016, it served as the primary sidearm for MROC operators, deploying to theaters including Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and various African locations, as well as classified sites worldwide. Users consistently praised its dependability and stopping power. The .45 caliber round proved decisive in close-quarters engagements, while the pistol's accuracy allowed effective targeting at extended ranges. Though some initially questioned its mass, the weight contributed to superior recoil control during rapid fire. In 2016, MROC shifted to the Glock 19. This change was motivated more by logistical efficiency than weapon performance. The Glock's polymer construction reduced carried weight, a benefit on long patrols, while its larger magazine eased prolonged engagements. Standardization with other special operations units simplified both training and ammunition supply. Nonetheless, the M45A1 remained in use with force reconnaissance teams until its final retirement in October 2022. For these small, deep infiltration units, the pistol's characteristics remained ideally suited. Its meticulous maintenance reflected a respect for the long lineage of Marine Corps sidearms. In October 2022, the Marine Corps Systems Command officially retired the 1911 series, concluding 111 years of continuous service. The last M45A1s were replaced by the Sig Sauer M18, which had been selected in 2019 and introduced in 2020. The 1911 design thus holds the record for the longest-serving American military sidearm, equipping U.S. forces through over a century of conflicts. The enduring relevance of Browning's 1911 stems from foundational mechanical excellence. The locked breech, tilting barrel system he developed continues to underpin most modern pistols, including Glock, Sig Sauer, and Smith & Wesson models. His design offered unmatched recoil management in a compact platform, a principle that later designs refined but never fundamentally surpassed. The single-action trigger, when mastered, allows precision beyond what double-action mechanisms can deliver. Steel frames, heavier than modern polymers, provide better recoil absorption and rapid follow-up capability, with proven durability. World War II-era frames remained functional into the 21st century. The .45 caliber round, though limited in magazine capacity compared to 9mm, delivers greater stopping power and penetration, particularly in the hands of trained shooters who maximize hit probability. Browning's principles, emphasizing mass, leverage, simplicity, and reliability, remain valid regardless of material or manufacturing advancements. Combat tested under extreme conditions, the 1911 prioritized function over form, excelling where durability and consistency were paramount. Modern pistols offer undeniable advantages: higher magazine capacity, lighter polymer frames, modularity, and striker-fired actions that reduce snags. Yet the 1911 endures. Manufacturers worldwide, from Wilson Combat to Nighthawk Custom, continue producing variants that meet or exceed modern standards of accuracy and reliability. New shooters are drawn to its ergonomics and trigger feel, while experienced operators return for the refined control, recoil management, and satisfaction that comes from mastering a time-tested platform. Even in an age of diverse firearm technology, the 1911's design philosophy remains relevant, bridging over a century of military and civilian use. Competitive shooters often adapt the Model 1911 for disciplines like IPSC, USPSA, and other action shooting sports. These pistols are heavily customized, sometimes barely resembling the original military firearm, but they retain the underlying operating system. The design's inherent precision and crisp trigger continue to make it a top contender even against modern pistols crafted specifically for competition. Bullseye shooters can achieve tight 1-inch groups at 50 yards when using finely tuned examples. The persistent demand in the commercial market confirms the enduring appeal of the platform. Unlike most firearms, which often become obsolete within a decade, the 1911 has been produced continuously for over a century, a record unmatched by rifles, shotguns, or other handguns. Its longevity is supported by thousands of aftermarket components, from barrels and triggers to grips, sights, springs, and magazines, enabling shooters to tailor each pistol to their preferences. Gunsmiths specializing in the 1911 have cultivated expertise passed down through generations, creating a knowledge base unrivaled in firearms history. The Model 1911 has also become a cultural icon in the United States. Its silhouette, the squared slide, curved trigger, and grip safety is instantly recognizable in films and literature, even to those with no experience handling firearms. Over time, the designation 1911 has transcended the specific military model, becoming shorthand for a wide category of pistols, similar to how Kleenex refers to facial tissues or Xerox to photocopies. Numerous countries, from Argentina to the Philippines, have produced pistols based on this design, and collectors preserve the history of these variants with meticulous dedication. Military-issued 1911s carry stories in their wear patterns and proof marks. A World War I sidearm used in France may still show holster marks from the Doughboy era. Pistols from the Pacific theater of World War II bear evidence of wartime production, while Vietnam-era examples often feature modifications made by soldiers operating under extreme conditions. Collectors pursue rare variations with intense focus, from the scarce Singer-made models to foreign licensed versions, each piece contributing to a larger historical narrative. The 1911 owes much of its legendary status to generations of craftsmen and manufacturers. Skilled gunsmiths at workshops like Colt meticulously assembled pistols to exacting standards, passing their expertise to apprentices and maintaining traditions of quality. During World War II, factories like Remington Rand transitioned workers from typewriters to pistols, including many women, who demonstrated exceptional precision in production. At specialized military armories, master armorers hand-fitted pistols that surpassed standard factory accuracy, ensuring reliability in combat conditions. Today, custom shops such as Wilson Combat, Les Baer, Ed Brown, and Nighthawk carry forward these practices, combining traditional hand-fitting with modern CNC machining to achieve tolerances measured in 10,000ths of an inch. The Model 1911's evolution from a service sidearm to a legendary firearm was driven largely by combat experience. Soldiers who relied on it under extreme conditions recommended it to peers, establishing its reputation organically rather than through marketing. Personal attachment to individual pistols was common, grips polished smooth from constant handling, bluing worn at contact points, and repeated maintenance creating a bond between soldier and weapon. In close-quarters combat, where rifles or radios might fail, the 1911 offered dependable protection, earning loyalty that no advertising could generate. Even as military adoption waned, the pistol persisted, thriving in civilian hands, competitive shooting, and private security. Its continued relevance reflects the enduring design principles established by John Moses Browning: a locked breech system for recoil management, a single-action trigger for precision, a natural grip angle, and intuitive controls. These fundamentals proved effective across decades, from its introduction to the final M45A1 units leaving Marine Corps service in 2022. The 1911 demonstrates that simplicity, robustness, and practical engineering can outlast newer, more complex designs. Ultimately, the Model 1911 endures because it instills confidence. Those who carried it trusted that it would function under stress, deliver accurate results, and serve as a last line of defense. This combination of design excellence, proven performance, and historical validation ensures the 1911 remains one of the most respected and enduring firearms in history, a testament to timeless engineering and the human stories it enabled.